Good afternoon and welcome to Nigeria Now on Echo Television International, where we'll be keeping you updated with all that is happening. We know it's already that time of the year. A lot of Christmas shopping is going on, and then we're seeing that, customers, consumers, traders, everybody's complaining there is no cash in circulation. So questions will be then, how do we tend to shop for what we need when there is no cash? Well, we would like to discuss that on the program with others also, talking about other sectors, health sector, and then other things also on the show. I am Stella Elisha Dasham. You can join us live on Facebook and on YouTube. Drop your comment, drop your views on any of this issue we shall be bringing to the table this afternoon. I'll be doing the program with Rachel Danzi.
Good afternoon, Sarah.
It's already that time. You're already, looking Christmas.
I'm ready for the season.
Yeah, thank you so much, Rachel. Now, we're seeing here that part of the things we'll be looking at this afternoon is the fact that Christmas shopping. And then we're seeing that there is Naira scarcity again. You remember we started the year with Naira scarcity. And it seems we're going to close the year with another Naira scarcity. And questions, we've seen CBN complaining that people are hoarding. We're seeing a lot of people are complaining that even POS owners, ATM, in fact, banks are rationing the cash, because if you go to a lot of ATMs, there's no money. And we're seeing that traders are even afraid or scared to actually collect transfer, because they have fallen in the hands of scammers, and then electronic transfer, and then all of that. Sometimes it tells you that it's been transferred, but then the money bounced back, and then very few people are honest to come back and let the people know, know what the money bounced back. And we're seeing that a lot of people are insisting, no cash, no shopping. And we know it's already that time. So right now the questions will be, how do we expect Nigerians to thrive? Because it's not just for those shopping, but even it goes to a lot to tell about our economy presently, what that is happening, and people cannot lay their hands on cash.
Stella, there might be hurting for sure. There is no doubt. But I don't believe it's the highest percentage behind why we're not having cash in circulation. The CBN might keep assuring Nigerians that, you know what, we have a lot in circulation. But one thing leads to another, like from one thing to another, and that is where this whole scarcity starts. It's going to the ATMs and not seeing cash, and then people go to the POS agents. But imagine if every time you walk to an ATM, and there is money, you won't go to any POS agent. So whether we like it or not, it's our financial institute that is failing us, regardless of how they try to tell Nigerians there is money out there. Because whether we like it or not, transactions keep flowing. It keeps flowing. Because for the person in the market, they don't carry 5 million anymore in their hands to go and make purchases. Yes, they deposit it in the bank. Just money still flows in the bank, whether we like it or not. But I believe the scarcity starts at the point where, for example, now I step out and I say I'm going to an ATM, and I go and I do not have, and it is not dispensing. But I need that cash. I go to the next point where I need to get money, and it's usually these POS agents and all of that. So where did the problem start from? I believe it starts from the bank that have refused to make money unavailable, despite putting the 247 signpost at this ATM.
Yes, why do you have that when you don't have money?
When we don't have money, exactly. So there are other factors, but I believe that hurting is a little, because there's only how much an individual can earn. We can hurt, because we know what is the earning
the
limit exactly. There is limit from bank withdrawal at the counter. There is also limit you can get from the ATM. So there's just also a limit to how much people can hurt, and it's easy for the CBN to just point hands back to people, and then but it still goes back to them. And concerning marketers refusing to collect transfer, whether we like it or not, this scarcity also have also given room to a lot of fraudulent activities. You will know one or two business people that have fallen a victim of that, where someone comes, they've upgraded their game when it comes to they will show you that they have made the transfer. They have this new app recently where they will show you that the transfer have taken place. However, you don't get to see, they're gone with your goods and all of that. And then you wonder how do we even regulate these apps? How do people get to create certain things? Because there are certain things that need to be put in place that will make it really, really difficult for this kind of fraud to thrive in the first place. But we are seeing it thriving regardless. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done by the Central Bank of Nigeria, but they should stop pointing hands, because it still comes back to them. Because
of course, in fact,
yes,
bankers are pointing back. They said
Back-
that they should hold the CBN
yes.
responsible, because CBN is responsible for
Truly.
making sure that other commercial banks actually
they
have
are.
cash.
So once things are gotten right from the top, I believe it flows down to the bottom, most especially when it comes to the flow of money, and we won't be having this scarcity. I know Nigerians are afraid; they don't want what happened in January to happen again. But at the same time, that fear is also the reason behind it. So we should let the money flow for those hurting, because it is also a factor. But the CBN should play their role, which is bigger in this situation.
You know, Richard, if you ask me, I think the time where the CBN came out to say the fact that both old and new Naira notes should are actually still circulating, they should continue to circulate, there is no deadline. I think to some extent it was a bit late. Why didn't we have that from the beginning, from the middle rather of the year, so that people know that, you know what, I mean, this thing is here to stay. And then we saw they kept making it on the paper. Supreme Court have also given ruling saying, you know what, this Naira, no, none of them will be going faded anytime soon. So keep using it. And then to some extent it looks so late. But then another question Nigerians would like to ask. I mean, I remember during the beginning of the year when we saw the scarcity, I vividly remember where the present president was saying that that was to frustrate his effort to come out. So why are we not having politicians talking about this anymore? Are we trying to say that they actually have enough cash in their possession? And
Because
that's why
it's still
nobody's
happening
coming
again.
out? Because it's happening again. So I'm
Yes.
expecting to hear, you know, our leaders, members of the House of Reps, senators
Talking
coming out to
about
speak
him.
on behalf of people, say, you know what, we're not having cash inside.
Then it shows that it's a problem for the masses seller. It's obvious. It shows that.
So imagine.
Yeah, so if, just as you said, if at the beginning of the year everybody felt it and people were complaining, because at that time with election they need to move hundreds of millions of naira, they needed it for their campaign and all of that. Now we are now seeing that if it was that bad, everybody would have complained about it. So now it feels automatically with this observation that you raised, Sele, that it is a problem for the masses, and obviously we don't have our politicians feeling it anymore. So it means they have the cash.
And
Because
we don't have
it, yes, because if there is cash scarcity, then it should be everywhere. But then obviously there is a group of people that are feeling it and a group that are not feeling it. So those that are not complaining about it obviously have, and those who don't have are the one complaining about it. So CBN should tell us why it's not everybody in Nigeria that is complaining about no money.
Because you can imagine, just for you to have access to just 5,000 now, you have to pay the POS about 200 and 10,000. You have to pay. I mean, it keeps going up and up. So we just hope that they will look into
We
that.
hope so.
Now we're seeing that NLC is coming out again to debunk whatever rumor it is out there that they said they were going on a nationwide strike, and they never said anything as such. But there was a circular that went round saying that from today they will be starting a strike. But then, I mean, they came out to say they never said anything as such. But then, I mean, Nigerians will still be expecting NLC to be talking about a lot of things. And we're looking at the scarcity of cash,
Yes.
and it's Christmas time. So you begin to ask questions, what are they doing to make sure that everybody is having? And this is when I'm even expecting their voice to be louder, because we saw when Oshomela was talking about the fact that, I mean, you're about to celebrate Christmas and then the 35,000 naira is not given to you. So right now you have debunking. Yeah, you have debunked that rumor that you are not planning to go on strike anytime soon, or any nationwide strike. But how about the needs of people, I mean, that you are supposed to speak on their behalf? Because you're not just a union by name, but it should be a union by your actions, your activities. Let people feel your impact. You say, you know what, I mean, we know Nigerians are going through this hardship. Fuel is high, no naira. So you begin to wonder, what else are we going to talk about? Inflation of food prices, amid many other things. So yes, they have debunked this rumor, but I mean, there are other things that are on the line, and I'm expecting NLC to talk about it as well.
I mean, Stella, I don't even think this is a rumor. I believe this is a publication coming out from a place of people expecting NLC to keep to his words. That is, if the government is failing in their responsibility, you need to act on your own side again. And the threat has been strike. And it's expected, okay, if the government is not giving you this 35,000, the NLC have said it, they will go on a strike. If these payments are not made, in the past. And I believe that I can write and say, for example, perhaps the NLC will go on strike because the 35,000 is not being paid, because that has been the back and forth. I mean, since the second, the third, and then the last quarter of the year 2023. So it's not surprising. Perhaps they might not have come out to say we are going on a strike, but it's expected that that could be the reaction, because there have been that back and forth in the picture of the NLC and their agreements with the federal government. But it's a good thing that they stepped out to say, okay, you know what, this time around, strike is not the action we're planning to take. And recent, we haven't said anything precisely concerning strike, but you are silent, NLC, and you're supposed to be speaking at the moment, because 35,000 is not going out. And yet we are also seeing that now there is cash scarcity, and we are looking like the repetition of January is about to take place. And that wouldn't be funny, because people lost their life because of cash crunches. It's one thing for people to have slept hungry, but we saw people losing their life. We saw jungle justice for a POS operator who was, exploiting people. But of course, that is not a death penalty for anybody. But we saw people taking that kind of action in Nigeria, because it's like every situation.
A lot of hardship. The queues, the hot sun we saw, where a lot of people took it into their hand, destroying ATM facilities in various banks.
Where people will queue as early as 3 a.m. and might
some
not
were sleeping there as well.
That we don't want to see it. So this is one of the things that NLC should be talking about for sure. Don't be quiet about it. You're a union for a reason. Maybe you also have cash. We're just saying, we talked about our politicians keeping quiet because they are not feeling it. Perhaps the NLC is having money and they're not talking about it. If you have cash, let's know. But you're supposed to be the voice for everybody, and then you should talk and do the needful. Keep talking till finally our leaders listen to you. Honestly. Eventually. That's just where I believe NLC should stand whenever anything is beginning to be an issue in the country.
Well, I think we'll just cross our fingers and watch NLC closely. Let us know if they are being biased about certain needs, and then not being outspoken about other needs that are supposed Nigerians expect you to talk, and then you don't talk, and then when Nigerians feel, this is not something very serious,
you take it
very serious. Now, Rachel, I'd like us to close the show with the health sector, where we're seeing that today we saw it on the papers, making it in the morning, where we saw the Disease Control Center coming out to say that, about 200 persons have died from Lassa fever. In the last 11 months, starting from January down to 3rd of December. So I do not know how many from 3rd till date right now, how many more people have died. And we keep talking about the fact that some of our facilities in our health sector are not functioning. We've heard even where medical personnel have also died in their line of duty, based on the fact that they were not aware of this is what was actually wrong with the patient, and they were seeing this. Now, beyond the disease control telling us this had a number of persons that have died, how far have our government, gone to make sure, or how far have they actually covered to make sure that, every health facility is actually being upgraded? We talked about the fact that some of our primary health care are not doing well, and it's expected that, whatever you get in the primary health care, you should also get it in the secondary health care. You shouldn't go there for maybe malaria, typhoid. Your primary health care should be able to take care of that. But we're saying that when you go to primary health care, some of these things are not even available. Some of the kits for as simple as malaria test is not there. So you have to go down to the general hospital. And we're saying that even the general hospital, we're not having sufficient doctors. So the little number that are trying to, because they're still rationing even in the hospital. It's not about rationing cash. It's about rationing even our doctors. Some of them will have to rush from this, healthcare to another healthcare. And some of them also have their own personal hospitals that they run. So now the question is, what is the government doing? Because we're seeing alongside, we're also seeing where the Nigeria Medical Association are also giving the federal government 45 days ultimatum to come up with their allowances for them.
We're seeing that.
So now, Rachel, putting these two together, you're still talking about the health sector.
Yeah.
And you and I talk about the budget that was even allocated to the health sector did not look
It
like
doesn't look like that.
the
Yeah.
government is actually trying to
True.
do something about that. So what are we going to do to make sure this is just for Lassa fever? We cannot
Yes.
talk about other diseases that have
Yes,
actually
we saw
taken.
diphtheria this year. I mean, the death toll is really, really,
Really
high.
high.
Yes, within a short period of time. We've been dealing with Lassa fever for quite a while in Nigeria. It's not new. We've known one or two persons that have gone as a result of that. It's mostly in the rural area,
Areas.
but few cases in the urban area. And I believe that over the years, it's almost like there's a wave of information and then it dies at some point. But it should be continuous because I'm very conscious of Lassa fever. I don't know personally, on a very personal level, I am very conscious of rodent, and I don't joke with that in my house either way. I mean, I'm sounding like a mother, but to some extent I've been in my house and I'm personalizing it now that I take Lassa fever.
Very
It's
serious.
one of those diseases that is subconsciously and consciously registered in my head because first of all, it's not only about you, it's where you're getting your food from. So when I see a store that I'm not even sure of, I'm not sure of how good
The preservation,
Yes,
storage, and all
exactly,
of that.
because it's not every food we consume that goes through thorough heat. Eba, for example, don't go through thorough heat. So imagine if you just buy from anywhere, you could be you're exposing
Victims
yourself
to
to
that.
Lassa fever. And you know, when we travel, we see food being dried on the road and all of that. You have to also be careful buying that kind of food because we see these rodents coming from the bush, eating them and going. And there are types of rats that
And actually,
get
not
hit.
just any
It just not
rodents.
just any. So I'm always mindful, very, very, and not to over talk about how mindful I am. I'm just trying to tell Nigerians to also be mindful in the end because it still boils down to what you consume. Now we can take it further to our health sector and the decay. It just happened that this year the decays have come to our paper, Sele, and it's rampant. But it will shock you. It's not shocking. It's out there. A lot of people already know that it gets to the point in our hospitals that you also have to buy the tools that you'll be
Use,
treated.
of course.
Cotton wool, syringe, even these gloves. Sometimes you have to buy it for the
Your-
doctors to be
what do
able
you
to
call
check
those
you.
drips and all
Yes,
of
the
that?
drips and
Yeah.
all of that. Basic essential things that should be in the hospital are not even in our so-called big hospitals. Talk more of the primary health care centers and all of that. Now, why am I saying so? Because when you see the cases of doctors getting infected by disease, there are diseases that immediately you see a patient as a doctor, it is viral by nature. You know it, you see the symptom. It means this patient needs to be quarantined with
Immediately.
immediate effect. You just need to separate that patient. You can't be too much in a rush that your safety is not top. It means that there is a scarcity of that safety. As far as I'm concerned, that's what it means. Because if you have certain safety materials in your disposal, you won't think twice to put them on. But I believe it's as a result of it not being available that you find yourself exposed to certain things. And then it just means that so much needs to be done. We can't stop talking about our health sector and what needs to be done. This is just a little compared to the so much that is happening, like there's so many things happening in our health sector. And I keep saying it's just one of those places that we can be so religious about it. I will encourage everybody to be very religious about not falling sick and not being in the hospital because it doesn't feel good. Nobody gives a testimony of really, really good treatment or just better care in the hospital. It's always one nightmare, one dilemma out of the other, waiting too long for something that wouldn't take long, people losing their life out of situations that they could have been saved and still been alive and all of that. The government of Nigeria need to, we kept on saying how the budget, no, it says no more Japan, or does it even say that it will be better? But then let's see how things turn out to be. I don't want a Nigeria where the private sector is the primary caregiver when it comes to health, because it will start meaning that you have to be very, very wealthy to get access even to basic. I mean, a file in some of these places 2,000 naira.
Rachel, 5,000 naira
just to open a file. Yes, and so where are we heading to? I don't think that's what we want. So I just hope that the government of Nigeria is hearing us every single day and waking up to do the needful, because there's just so much lapses that we don't even want to talk too much about it, because it will look like nothing is moving well in the country. But we can't help but not talk about all that needs to be done is for it to be out there and eventually something done.
You know, Rachel, while you were talking, I just couldn't help but I imagine there was a time in Nigeria, Rachel, whereby every Saturday we see these community health people going round to be sure that our environment, because you make mention of the fact that you're very conscious about how the food comes in, rodents that are coming in. Sometimes you can't help when you're trying to keep your house clean, your neighbor at the other end,
they always find their way.
So somehow this thing but you just have to be very conscious. Now, the question will be, what happened to our community health care? I mean, what happened to some of these health workers that we see them walking around?
Yes.
Rachel, I don't see them anymore. I mean, I remember back then when I was quite younger, they are always there. So people are very, very conscious of, if you know you have maybe part of this runways and all of that, make sure that the gutters, the drainages, make sure that you clean the gutters, you sweep, you cut your grasses. I mean, to some extent, it was very, very compulsory. I think if you didn't even do that, there was a fine or something.
Your neighbor won't allow you not to,
because
everybody was watching each other.
But right now, I mean, just like we said, I think we need to go down to the rural areas as well, because you make mention of that. So those areas that are not getting all they need to actually awareness on cleaning the environment, because I think right now, just like you said, nobody even has the money to go to the hospital. Right now, the drugs are even, the inflation price
see it every day
is very, very terrible. So we're hoping that, I mean, with all that, the control center, the disease control center has made it, if we're having 200, I mean, that's an estimate. Maybe we have more in other places that have not been captured. But I'm hoping that as this year is ending, the Nigerian government will also take a step forward and do something better. So when we enter 2024, we'll not be talking about issues like this that, I mean, should have been a story of the past, but we're still talking about it over and over and over. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for doing this with me. And thank you to our viewers and also for keeping the day readers on Nigeria Now. Until we come your way tomorrow, do have a blessed day ahead.